In this video, we're going to look at Carl Linnaeus's classifications of domains and kingdoms. These are the two broadest, domains being the broadest, kingdoms being the section right underneath. They are divided into three domains for our purposes. These domains include bacteria, archaea, and eukarya. Yeah, kind of some different words for you, but you'll get used to it. The three domain systems are then broken down into kingdoms further. Again, organisms are going to be placed into these domains based on cell type, their ability to make food, and the number of cells in their body. So whether you are a autotroph, heterotroph, and multicellular, unicellular, and even the chemicals that make up your body and your DNA and nucleic acids in that sense. So let's look at each of our domains. Let's start with bacteria. Bacteria are going to be what we call prokaryotes. Prokaryotes is a key term for this section, and you will be required to know it. It simply means that your cells do not contain a nuclei. And again, nuclei is also going to be a key term. Nucleus is the housing that holds your genetic material. Now, some organisms, such as bacteria, do not have this nuclei, and therefore we call them prokaryotes. Your nucleic acids are going to be your instructions for your cell. That includes your DNA and your RNA. We will talk about those a little bit more in depth when we get into our units on genetics. But for bacteria, your nucleic acid just kind of floats around in the cytoplasm of the cell as opposed to being housed in that nucleus. So that is a very, very big difference between bacteria and eukaryotes. Like bacteria, your archaea is also going to be prokaryotes. But sticking with bacteria, bacteria can either be autotrophs or heterotrophs. Autotrophs, again, meaning that it makes its own food from either sunlight or other sources of heat and energy, such as those hydrothermal vents we did mention briefly in other videos. Heterotroph, again, meaning that it has to find its food and eat it from or eat an autotroph in order to actually obtain its energy. Bacteria can be helpful and harmful. Just some examples. Yogurt is a bacteria culture along with sugars and other dairy products, but it is mostly a bacteria that is growing. And you can actually grow your own yogurt from yogurt that you have. Strep throat, these little white patches in the back of your throat you get sometimes, those are a harmful bacteria that causes that itchy rashness in your throat, and you normally get put on antibiotics to take care of that. Moving on to your archaea, this is the most recent domain, time-wise thinking. Archaea used to be packaged in with bacteria, but upon further study we realized that their chemical makeup, their DNA structure, especially with the RNA, is very, very different. These are again going to be microscopic organisms, but they're going to live in the very, very harsh conditions of our planet. These conditions meaning hydrothermal vents, hot springs, intestines of cows, those sort of places that you and I would not really enjoy being in. Archaea are going to be unicellular prokaryotes, again, like the bacteria. They can be autotrophs or heterotrophs, but again, they differ from their chemical makeup, including their DNA and RNA. Our last domain is the eukarya domain. This is where you and I fall in. These are organisms whose cells have a nucleus, or we call them eukaryotes. This domain is broken into four kingdoms. Those kingdoms are protists, fungus, plants, and animals. And just to break into those, let's start with protists. Protists is probably the most interesting of these kingdoms, in my opinion. This is your odds and end kingdom. If things do not fit in the other three kingdoms, we kind of just throw it here. Again, as long as you're a eukaryote, you're fitting in one of these. And if you don't fit in a fungus, plant, or animal, we kind of throw you here, which means we do get a very, very large diversity of organisms in this kingdom. So you can't be unicellular, you can't be multicellular, you can be autotrophs, and you can be heterotrophs. Examples in this kingdom are your algae. That includes your green algae, red algae, brown algae. It includes kelps, which are multicellular. Your next kingdom is the fungi kingdom. These are again going to be unicellular or multicellular. However, they differ from The protists, in other ways, they must be heterotrophs. We do not have autotrophic fungus out there. And they are going to feed specifically by absorbing nutrients from decaying dead organisms. In other words, these are your decomposers in the world. When something dies and its body needs recycled into the environment, fungus steps up to the plate and handles that job. They mostly live on land, but some will live in water, especially your water molds. Plants. Plants are multicellular and autotrophic. You probably know most of those. There are plants that might seem to be heterotrophic, but they are also autotrophic, so we put them in here. That's why the Venus flytrap is listed there. But it is majority, it gets most of its nutrients from the sun and leaf producing photosynthesis. Last kingdom is the Animalias, or the animals kingdom. This is where you and I belong. Everything in this kingdom is going to be multicellular and heterotrophic. Now remember, all the eukaryotes have nuclei in your cells, so we do not put the bacteria or the archaea into these kingdoms.